Whether they're new, noteworthy, in some cases gimmicky, or viral, if you picked up any of these next products that are newer products to the market and you were just confused on how to use them and what the best practices are, let's say you pick them up and you haven't picked them up again because you just don't know how to make them work, sit back, relax, because I got your back. Let me show you the best techniques and best practices that I have learned and I have discovered as a working makeup artist of 17 years on how to use these products. So let's get into it. All right, if you bought the L'Oreal Faux Brow Pen based on my recommendation or other people's recommendations and you just can't get the right angle, maybe the right pressure, maybe you're applying just a little too much, let me give you some best practices and the way I like to apply this product to get a brow that looks like this. So I've been fully addicted to this product and I'm not gonna lie, I've actually been a little on the lazy side recently and I've only been using this in my brows and I have been skipping my brow gels, I've been skipping my tinted brow gels, and I've just been doing this. And it's very freeing. I feel very free and like I've gained a couple extra minutes into my daily routine, which is no big deal to use two different products, but I'm just saying like you can knock out a pretty awesome looking brow if you have no brows like me in under 60 seconds. Now don't be scared, but I'm gonna take this brow off and I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm working with and how I like to use this product. All right, now first things first, before you even go in with this brow product, I want you to consider if you can, if it's an option. It's not going to always be an option for everyone, but if you can do your brows prior to your skincare, if you have oily skin, if you wear sunscreen, if you wear serums, if you wear moisturizers, if you wear anything that's going to be close to your brow area, think about and just try testing out doing your brows prior to any of your skin prep because it will give you the maximum amount of adherence and longevity throughout the day. It will give your brow products, whether it's pencil or pen, something to stick to, which is going to be a dry canvas. You want it to be dry because if it's slippery, this ain't going to stick. So let's say you already did your skin prep and you don't have time to do your brows first, or you just don't want to do that order. It just doesn't sound like a natural order in which to apply your products and your makeup. Then I get it. Totally. Make sure you have a Q-tip that has either some alcohol on it, some kind of makeup remover that's not oily, anything that's not going to leave an oily residue. Make sure you just run this through your brows post skin prep and or post makeup foundation application. The reason why you want to do this is because you want to start with a clean, squeaky deaky clean brow before you put this brow product in. So I'm just running into my brows with an alcohol sprayed Q-tip. And that's it. So now what that's done is it's removed that buildup, it's removed that excess oil, the natural oil that's going to be in your brows. And you may or may not know it's there, but it is there. And it's going to affect the longevity of your brow product and the way it sticks to your skin. So now that we've done that, I want you to zoom in a little bit. You are going to take your L'Oreal Brow Pen, if you bought this based on my recommendation, or if you have anything that's similar to this. But before you just go in right away, here is a safe tip. Now, let's say you've been storing this product downward like you should because you want all the ink to be running through, hitting the nozzle and the applicator. That way doesn't feel like it's dry or like you have to like shake it up a bunch of times. You could run into the issue of overflowing product when you first open the applicator. So rather than doing that first stripe right when you open this product, I really urge you to do a couple test strokes. This will get the excess, too much product that's in the actual pen. It will get all that out of the way. So now what you're left with is like a primed brow pen that's ready to go. It's not going to go on too overly intense or too overly like wet and give you like that Sharpie appearance. So now when you get your mirror, look straight into your mirror. Now I like to start with the inner part of my brow. This is just an easier thing for me. You could start wherever you want. There's no right or wrong way to use it in that regard. But I like to start in the very inside of the brow and I like to go upward angle. You're going to apply the lightest pressure you possibly can. This can be really hard sometimes. And if that is hard for you to do that and just kind of hold your hand in the air, not stabilize on anything, try this. Try bringing your grip closer to the end of the pen where you'll have closer range to pop your pinky and rest it on your cheek. You're going to rest on your cheek and you're going to flick. It's going to flick going upward, start to angle them as you get towards the center of the brow, and then you're really going to start to angle it as you get to the tail. Following the curve of your brows naturally, soft strokes. Do not apply too much pressure because it will apply and deposit way too much product and will end up looking overly intense. Another way to avoid this kind of issue is going one shade lighter with the brow pen. If you can, if the shade ends up being suitable, it might end up being too red, which is a problem that I ran into when I first bought this product. The shade below this one's black brown, by the way. The shade below it, which was like, I think brunette, was just too red on me. So if you can get away with going lighter, great. If not, light pressure is your best friend. So let me show you one more time. as I get to the arch, I'm curving it. Soft strokes. Now when you get to the tail, instead of doing the 2-prong against the tail and drawing the tail with the 2 prongs, I like to take the prongs and flip it on the side. So I'm just getting 1 prong to do very fine detail work. This just ensures that I don't produce an overly blocky, thick tail, and it's still structured, it's still tapered, which is what I want. Now, once that's on, let's say you went a little too intense with your brows. You want to soften them really quickly, really easily, but you don't want to have to take them off and redo them. Trust me, I get it. What you're going to do is take a little bit of your loose powder, like your loose setting powder, or even sometimes you could take, like, let's say the Kosas Cloud Set powder, if that's what you have. Any powder that just doesn't have too much pigment to it, you're going to take a really small amount. In this case, I'm going to take the Makeup by Mario Surreal Skin Soft Blur Setting Powder. I'm going to pick up a small amount of the powder with my N14 brush, just on the tip of the brush. It should look something like that. And you're just going to hit the areas that you applied too much pressure, or maybe it's showing up a little too dark. If you use just a little bit of powder, it's going to ever so slightly soften the appearance and give them, like, it takes away that harsh edge to your brows. And the bonus is it's going to keep the oils at bay a lot longer than if you didn't do this step. So oily skin people specifically, you're going to love this technique. If you're dry, it's not going to do anything for you and you're not going to like the feeling. But if you went too harsh on your brows, just run a little bit of powder to soften that look, and boom, you are good to go. So here's both brows filled in with the L'Oreal Faux Brow. If you bought the very viral, very popular, newer product from Makeup by Mario, this is the Master Mattes Liquid Eyeshadows. If you have 1, 2, any of these shades and you're having a difficult time using them, or you're just not sure where to start or the best practices, I've been using these for months and I got you. Take, for example, the shade Bisque. This is a really great priming shade that you could pick up to just knock out the redness, reduce discoloration, cover up the visible veins that you can see I have. I have a lot of veins on my eyes, and this just does a great job of camouflaging that, priming my eyes, getting my eyes nice and matte, and keeping my powder eyeshadows on all day. But before we get into any of that kind of stuff, let me show you the best way to use this, because these do dry down really quickly. So if you're oily like me and you have massively oily eyelids like me, you're going to want to knock out that excess oil and just pick it up and absorb it with a tiny, tiny bit of loose powder. Just using a little bit more of that Makeup by Mario powder with the N14, and it's just going to reduce and cut down any shine. That is for specifically my oiliest people out there, like myself. Then you're going to go with your Master Mattes Liquid Shadow. You're going to do 1 eye at a time. The reason for this is because A, we just dried down and absorbed all that excess oil and shine and greasy residue on our eyelids. So that means when we go in with this product, guess what? It's going to dry down so much quicker than you would anticipate. So you want to do 1 eye at a time, especially if you have dry eyelids, which we'll get to dry eyelid tips in just a second, but this is just for oily eyelids. Now, I might be biased, but I think the best application tool is the N16 brush. This is from my original Volume 1 set with BK Beauty. The N16 is a great concealer brush, but it's also amazing for packing on, blending out, and overall applying liquid eyeshadows, eyeshadow primers, and cream eyeshadows. So I use a tapping motion, and then once I get to the crease, I start to use the longer bristles to blend this upward, diffusing the edges and properly blending it out. Now, because you apply that thin little tiny base layer of powder, combined with this, your oily eyelids don't have a chance to crease or smudge or ruin your eyeshadow application. Now, dry skin is different, okay? I've had a ton of questions about how dry skin and dry eyelids specifically can use a product like this, because this is matte, it's long wearing, it dries down really, really quick. All those things could be a little bit difficult to work with if you do have very dry eyelids, especially dehydrated eyelids. Now, for my dry eyelids, if you're afraid of this type of product, this is one step that I highly, highly urge you to incorporate in your skincare routine prior to your makeup. And that is probably no surprise here. I know I'm a broken record, but a hydrating or milky toner, essence, whatever you want to call it, toners, essences, they're the same thing. But any of these are going to be really great products to use. I don't know why they're all turned around. Now, the thinnest one out of the group, let's say you're not severely dry, and you just want something that's very thin, very lightweight, but still has a slightly milky feeling to it. The Anua 70% Rice Ceramide Milky Glowy Toner is so phenomenal. It's so great as eye prep, both top and bottom. So you're going to take something like this, or you're going to take something thicker if you need even more hydration, or if you really need a lot of hydration and you really, really have like the most dehydrated, flaky skin, eyelids out of anyone you know, you'd want to take 2 of these. You go for the thinnest first, which would be the Anua or anything like it, and then you go for the thickest one. like the prequel half and half. This is going to lock in this hydration, give you more hydration, more glow, and more nourishment. Either of these or combined are going to be so amazing as eyelid prep, top and bottom, for your makeup. Now for demonstrative purposes for my dry skin eyelid people out there, I'm going to use the Glazing Milk from Rhode. This has quickly become a favorite product of mine. It's so good. So well done. This is a perfect consistency that is actually right in between these two. So I thought that would be like a good in between to show you. So I'm just going to take a small amount. I'm just going to pour it into my hand. Since I'm just showing you on my eyelid, this is too much, but I'm just going to work it into my fingertip. And you're just going to run this. Make sure you don't get into your eye, obviously. So just do a thin, light layer to get you going. Get this all over. I'm just going to bring it to my bottom because I love the hydration. You're going to bring this all over your eyelid. It's going to soothe. It's going to feel incredible. It's going to feel so comforting and nourishing. And you're going to let it soak in until it's not wet anymore. So once it's fully dried down, then you could go in with your Makeup by Mario. Okay, we're now absorbed. I'm gonna go back to the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes Liquid Shadow and Bisque. Now for my dry skin and oily skin people out there, this rule applies to both of you. I'm just gonna say it one more time. I really highly encourage you to do one eye at a time because this does still dry down quick, even if you've hydrated your eyelids like I just did. Same N16, you're gonna push this onto your eyelids, okay? You're pushing, you're not swiping back and forth. You want to maintain the pigment. That's like the joy of this product. Once you feel like you pushed it and adhered it to your eyelid, you're going to start to do sweeping motions to blend out the edges, softly diffusing it into the rest of your makeup, just like that. So it has both eyes prepped using the same product, one for oily eyelids, one for dry. Wherever you fall into place, I really hope this helps you achieve a flawless eye makeup prep or eye makeup look using the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes Liquid Shadows. Speaking of Makeup by Mario, let's say you bought the beautiful Ethereal Eyes Nature palette or any of the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes, the original Ethereal Eyes Moonlight, the Nature, whichever one you have. But if you have this palette and if you are one of the people that's reached out to me and not enjoyed the shimmers in particular, I got you. Let me show you a simple solution to make these the utmost metallic finish they could possibly be. But first, we're gonna get a primed eye makeup look on. We're gonna grab the N13 brush or any of your blending brushes that are fluffy like this. The N13 is going to dip now into this nice mid-tone transition shade. I love this shade. Tapping into this, tap off the excess, and then I'm just gonna do a crease color really quick before I jump into the shimmers because I'll be wearing this eye makeup through the rest of this video. So we're just gonna pop this on, blending this in to the crease, getting a nice even saturation. Second eye, we're gonna knock this out really quick. Same exact technique. All right, so we're getting a nice primed look on the eyelids. Our base color's on, our crease is defined, our eyes are popping more. That's just one color built up slightly with the N13. Now let's jump into the shimmers. So the N24, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna show you two ways to use the same shadow. So one way is gonna be just on its own, totally dry with the brush, okay? So for this makeup look, this is actually my favorite shimmer in the palette. So I'm just gonna pick this up dry and it's still gonna be pretty. We're gonna pack this on with the N24. Now this brush is meant to pick up and pack on, so it's gonna give this a more metallic finish. Depending on like what kind of brush you're using, you may be disappointed with the shimmer effect and the metallic finish that this one has to offer. I'm not. I think it's beautiful. I think Mario did a great job, but I hear you all and I listen and I read the comments, and so I really want to show you a way to get this more impactful. So if you did pick up the palette and you're disappointed, I don't want you to be disappointed. All right, now same brush. We're gonna now wet this brush first before we dip into the shadow. We're gonna properly coat it with some setting spray, but not just any setting spray. And this is a really important tip and a really important thing to look out for. There are quite a few setting sprays, especially nowadays on the market, that will leave you with almost like a filmy thickness and a filmy kind of feeling left over on your skin. You don't want to use setting sprays like those. Like the Fenty Beauty You Mist is a little on the filmy side. Great setting spray, but it could leave a little bit of a filmy residue. Anastasia Impeccable can leave you with a little hint of that as well. You would not want to use the one size on till dawn for this type of technique. Nothing aerosol. It needs to be a wet formulation, okay? And you want to avoid also ones that have matte, mattifying, or even blurring in the title, because those are also going to leave you with some bit of a film former on your skin. And the reason why this is so important to avoid those type of setting sprays when you're using this technique in particular is because the last thing you want to do is have those film formers and that residue build up and get into your brush and leave it with that gunky look to it. So to keep your brushes clean, pristine, and lasting through the rest of your lifetime, skip the filmy setting sprays to make a long story short. And the number one setting spray that I recommend for this technique, and the number one that I use in my pro kit and I buy on repeat, is the OG, the original Charlotte Tilbury airbrush setting spray. Not the new one, not the matte one. It has to be the original. It doesn't leave a film, and it's not going to ruin your brushes. Okay, and I know this for a fact because I've used this in my kit for a trillion years. But with all formulas, shake it up first. Take your brush. Don't go like that, okay? Don't go like this. Go like this. Okay? Try to remove the product from seeping into the ferrule before it gets a chance to. And your brush should look like this. It's got water on it. It's ready to pick up a shadow and make it more intense and make it more metallic. That's exactly what we're going to do. So before this dries down, let me stop talking. Same eyeshadow from Makeup by Mario. It's already going to look more wet on your brush. So now don't go back and forth and start to swipe. You want to push this on to your eyelid, making sure it gets good grip and it sticks right away. Now already this has just more of a sheen to it and more of like a smooth look to it. And that's just one little coat, okay? So it's going to get better. Now you do need to spray your brush in between each round. That's just the way it is. That's just the way. So same thing, I just sprayed it. I'm picking up on the brush. We're basically being our own Bob Ross with makeup, and we're turning this into more of a metallic foiled look. And for anyone out there that does not like this palette, you'll be making lemonade out of lemons. And you're finding a way to be happy with these shimmers, that way you're not wasting your money. So if you were not happy with them, if you were disappointed, I'm totally listening to you and I get it. I think they're beautiful, like I said, but if you're looking a way to increase the metallic finish and even like more of like the pickup of the product, wet your brush first. So it may not look like that crazy of a difference on camera, but here's wet and here's dry. Can you see that? Close my eyes for you. This side feels so much more soothing because it's wet. Kind of feels like I put like a little cucumber slice on my eyes. Looking up close in my mirror, I could see this is just a lot more impactful. This is still beautiful though. It's beautiful. It's subtle. If you want like a subtle shimmer, do it dry. If you want it more bang, impactful, apply it wet. But that is how I'd recommend you use the new Master Matte's Ethereal Eyes Nature Palette from Makeup by Mario. Dry or wet, but if you want more impact, just wet your brush. All right, this next one, I've talked about this in like a short form video on my other social platforms. In case you missed that, let me give you a quick run through on how to use the MPH Underpainting palette. I have the light shade. I do know they're expanding their shade range very, very soon. Fingers crossed that happens really, really soon. But if you happen to have picked this up, either based on my love for it or other people's recommendation or just seeing it and having FOMO and wanting to check it out, and you're left wondering how the heck to use it, let me simplify it for you. So now you know how to use this palette. Now, underpainting, just a little quick, brief history. It's a Kevin Aquan technique. It's been around for ages. It is really amazing for like on camera, TV appearances, red carpet, things like that. Is it always useful in your day-to-day life? No. But when you have a really special event, when you need to look your absolute best, let's say you're taking family photos, let's say you're taking your new headshot photos, say you're taking new photos for your business card, whatever it is, whatever you need to look your absolute best for, and you have the time in that situation, that is the time to pull out your underpainting, and let me give you the skills and the tips to do it like a pro. Promise you, it is not complicated. Now, the way I like to use the underpainting palette is with the N24 brush as well. Any small flat packer brush like this, any small like old school brush like this. So this is a very classic shape, a shape that everyone needs in their makeup belt and their makeup collection. Now, it's in the name, underpainting. So you would essentially want to do this underneath your foundation, but here are a couple of caveats you need to think about. Number one, if you apply a full coverage foundation on top of it, you're going to wipe out all that underpainting and all that work that you just did. So underpainting really essentially is the best suited for light makeup applications on top. So I'm talking like skin tints, phenomenal under a skin tint. Light coverage, phenomenal under a light coverage. The most amount of coverage you want to put on top of this is going to be a medium. Okay, at the most. And anything after that, it's just going to eliminate it and it's going to make it a completely wasted step. Now, you could also use this palette on top of your makeup. You don't have to be limited to just use this underneath your makeup. So if you picked it up and you're like, I hate the underpainting, it's not working for me, I feel like it disappears as soon as I put my makeup on top of it, then don't worry about it. do it on top. It will look beautiful and you will love it. I promise you. So I'm going to show you both ways to use the Underpainting palette, either on top and underneath. We're going to start underneath. And what I like to do is start with the N24. And this is more of like a warm bronzy shade. This one's more of like a cool tone sculpting shade. You can see the depth and the undertones are clearly very different. I love the warm bronzing shade. And let's start on this side. I like to hit the top of my forehead. And again, we're going to keep it to one side. And then when I get to my cheek, I'll dip into a little bit of the cool one and a little bit of the warm one. Find the hollow. It's going to be different for everyone, but just kind of giving you a rundown on how to use this palette the most basic way. You would find the hollow of your cheek. You go right underneath it. In this case, I like to go slightly above where the hollow is to give me a more lifted effect. I am 39. If you're anywhere close to my age, I would highly recommend you follow this rule as well. So find the hollow. Let's say this is the hollow. If you go slightly above it, you'll get an even more lifted effect and it'll be really, really soft and flattering. Also, do not go all the way in with this product. It's going to bring your face down. Keep it, I usually stop this honestly, I don't know, somewhere in between like the tail of my brow and like the end of my actual eyes. So somewhere in this realm is where I stop it. Anywhere past it is just going to drag down the appearance of my face. And I already have full cheeks that gravity is like pulling them down. So I don't want to pull them down more. Now that we got that out of the way, we're going to continue on. I like to mix these two shades once again for the nose. So I'm going to take this, start at the top of the bridge, and you'll see I'm connected it right into my brow, just like that. Just going to sculpt a little bit underneath. And again, I'm only doing one side because we're going to do the other side with the makeup on top and in the opposite order. Same two. And once again, just a touch on the tones. If you want more of a sculpted, minimized look, you'd go for the cool tone. If you just want like structure and some sculpting underneath your makeup, mixing either of these is going to be a really great option, or just going for the more warm tone. So it's really up to you and what your aesthetic is and what you're going for. But it's nice that both options are there because I think it's very needed. I'm just placing this here as well, and I like to go with the warm tone for this area because this area of my face is very hollow. So I don't want to hollow it out more, but I do want structure and I do want some sculpting effects. So going with the warm tone is going to be the most flattering in this area. Now on my jawline, I'm going to switch to the cool one only, and we're just going to hit right underneath like that. Nothing crazy, nothing too overly done. Now it's switching different brushes. This is the N22. I like to dip into both these shades with the tip of the N22. This is a domed blender brush. This is for eyes and lips. Now I already did this prior to recording, but we're going to touch it up on one side, just enhancing my lips prior to makeup. All right, so it should look something like this. Now let's say you have a really long forehead and you want to shorten it a bit. You could absolutely go into the cooler tone and add that to the top of the forehead. That will give the illusion of it bringing it down and shortening the width and the distance between your brows and your hairline. From here, I like to grab the N18 brush. This is also from volume 2. This has a little bit of leftover bronzer on it. Please forgive it. I cleaned it a little bit earlier, but not enough. So we're gonna take the N18 and you're just gonna tap this into place. What I don't want you to do with this palette and this product is get in there and start going like this. Okay, you want to actually see the visible lines and you want to keep it in place because this is what's going to be impactful and what's going to peek through when you put your foundation on top. Switching brushes to the N20S, we're just going to tackle the nose. And you don't need to blend it completely away. That's not the point. You don't want it to disappear. You just want to give it a nice rough blend so it softens it prior to your foundation. Okay, so it should look something like this. So the blend isn't perfect here, the blend isn't perfect here. Don't get caught up on it. Trust me, you don't need to. Now before we move on to the other side with the foundation, the reverse order, I'm going to show you how to use these colors right here. Now full disclosure, I do not like the way this product looks and the way it wears under my eyes. The color corrector is about all I do, and the rest of the products I'll use for slight lifting and for slight highlighting, but I don't like to use the concealer color all under my eyes. I think it's a little too thick for that area and it doesn't really wear well, at least in my experience, under my eyes, okay?
How do you know what's good for me? That's my opinion!
So I'm gonna take the N24, this is a different one that's clean. We're gonna dip into the color corrector first. The color corrector you could have put down first, after. It really doesn't matter. It's kind of just up to you and like when you remember to put this into your routine. But the color corrector is going to go exactly where you need color correction. So for me, this inner corner, I'm going to tap this on. Now the color corrector in these palettes are placed at the very top of the palette. So just something to remember. I'm going to place a little bit right here where I have all this redness. Now that we reduced and corrected that redness, take a little bit here too. Same brush, I'm going to flip to the other side. Now we can use the highlighting shade. This is the lightest shade in the palette, in the light palette. So I'm going to dip in, and this is where you want to lift up. Okay, this is going to give you a nice lifted appearance. You can lift up below the contour we placed earlier. Okay, just like that. You can take a little bit, highlight the inner part Now I'll still go over this area with concealer after, so I just like to put this on the side of my nose to further chisel, contour, and brighten this area, but I don't rely on it as my actual concealer. So now take a little bit more, we're gonna highlight this inner part of my forehead. Trying to just do one side is a little difficult to show you, but you'll get the idea. You wanna do like an upside down triangle, just like that, or like a pizza slice, think, pizza slice. And then a little on the top of the chin. This brings light to this area and like gives the chin a little lift up. Don't bring it too far down, but like right above. At the very top right here will give your chin a nice little lifty lift. Outer corner of the lip, if you have a downturn lip and you want to give it a lift up, start it at the corner of the bottom lip and pull it up. If you get the angle right, it should connect seamlessly to that other line that we just placed earlier. Now to blend this part out, I'm just going to take the N20S. I would recommend you use a small fluffy brush, something that's not overly dense, that's not going to move the product around too much. You just want to do a thin little baby blend. Because again, you don't want to diminish all the work you just put in. You just want to softly blend out the edges, getting it ready for the next product to go on top. So nothing too crazy, just like light blending. I'm going to switch back to the N18 because I forgot to blend out the jaw contour. I like to bring this up and down my neck, just like that. All right, so you should be left with something that roughly looks like this. Don't beat yourself up if it doesn't look like exactly like this, but it should look something like this. Now I'm just gonna go over my cheek one more time and just put a little bit more product and tap it in lightly. All right, now we're ready to move on to applying a skin tint or a light coverage foundation on top. So for this side, I'll be using a skin tint. This is the Sephora collection Reveal the Real. It's a really awesome, affordable skin tint. And we're just gonna shake this up. I'm gonna squeeze some out on the top of my hand. And from here, I'm gonna apply it with the N20 full size. This is a diffusing brush. This is a really great brush to use if you're truly doing an underpaint technique because it's not going to rip up that underpainting. It's not going to deposit too much of like a heavy application of foundation. It's going to apply more of a sheer, lightweight, more diffused look to your foundation. It's really ideal for blending these worlds in and making it soft and seamless. So we're going to take the N20. We're going to take a little bit on the bristles of the brush. I just pre-blend it onto the top of my hand. From here, you just want to act like you are melting the two worlds together. Okay, so it's like the more natural way to do this. Looks like your skin, slightly more sculpted. The whole idea behind palettes like this is it gives you like structure from within and it gives you less of a makeup on top of your skin type look. So it's more undetectable. If that is something that sounds like something you want, then great. Then this is a technique that you should definitely utilize. If you hate the look of like visible bronzer, visible contour, visible highlight, visible makeup sitting on top of your skin, if that's something that bothers you and you don't like that look, then underpainting is absolutely going to be your jam. So I'm not going on top of the bronzer exactly, but I'm blurring out the edges of where it stops. So it's just giving a nice seamless look. So you don't really know where it starts, where it stops. Dipping into a little bit more of the skin tint from Sephora, being above my lip. Just going to lightly glaze over my nose, lightly glaze over here. Now from here, you'd want to apply your actual concealer, blush, and call it a day. So to finish this whole side, I'm going to apply my concealer. I'm using the Estee Lauder Double Wear Concealer in 2N because if I'm using a skin tint and I'm getting that light coverage, I want to balance it out by getting more coverage under my eyes. It's just like a thing for me. Like I don't want to be like natural and natural. I want to have some balance. So this is going to bring that balance for me. So taking the shade 2N. So you're just going to go on top of where you color corrected to disguise that color correction and then bring it down wherever else you need it. This is really going to be different for everyone based on where you need that extra coverage. For me, I like to still take extra and bring it around my nose where I get a lot of redness. And that's about it. N20S, one more time, we're gonna tapping in to maintain the coverage, and then doing a blending motion to diffuse the coverage and make it soft and seamless. And that is a soft, natural way to use the underpainting palette with a skin tint. So you're not covering up the underpainting, you're not covering up the sculpting effect. You still see it popping through. You still see the highlight going on, but it's really soft. It's really natural. And honestly, the palette itself is more on the natural side because the formulation, the pigment is more buildable. It's not like super overly intense and overly pigmented out the gate. All right, now we're gonna apply a medium to full coverage foundation. This is the new Makeup by Mario Natural Finish Foundation. I have the shade 8N. We're gonna apply this on the other side first, okay? And I'm just gonna grab the N20 that we used earlier for the skin tint and just get this party going. So we're just gonna blend this all over this other side of my face and you'll see the difference and how you can wear it. So it's customizable. That's the great thing about it. Like you can wear it underneath, like I showed you, to look really natural, really like structured, really like you have this beautiful bone structure coming from within, or you could put it on top for a little bit more of like a full glam moment. I love this foundation so much. Okay, try not to hit the other side so I don't ruin it, but getting this nice and going. All right, foundation is on, Makeup by Mario in 8N. Now we're gonna go right in, do the same process, but on top. And this may seem redundant, I totally get it, but I really want you to see the placement and how to do it both times, underneath and on top. So going back to the N24 that we used earlier for the sculpting colors, same technique. I'm gonna use the warmer one here. I'm gonna load it up. I'm gonna grab the more cool tone to lower the forehead. It's gonna bring that down just a touch. Going back to the warm one for the temple. Going back to the cool, going under the jawline, switching back over to the N22, mixing both colors, sculpting this side of my lips, back to the drawing board. We're gonna do the nose just like we did on the other side. And let's go right in and actually grab this color corrector. I'm gonna apply it right here in the inner corner and this outer corner where I have all that redness. Now, before we do the highlighting portion, I encourage you to blend this out. So going back to the N18, we're just gonna press this on, tapping it, going on an upward angle so we don't drag it down. So again, upward angle always is the way to go. Tapping it in is gonna maintain the coverage. Buffing it back and forth is going to sheer it out. You choose what the appearance is that you're going for. I want to keep the opacity, so I'm tapping it in, blending this into the temple, just like that. I'm gonna now sculpt the jawline, going back and forth. The brush is flat, so it's going to just scoop underneath the jawline and do the blending for you. Switching brushes one last time, going back to the N20S, we're gonna blend out the nose contour. Now this is important to do this before you apply the highlighter or the concealer because you want to be able to blend this out freely, and then knowing that you can clean up the edges and refine it and like fine tune it with the concealer. So don't do these steps together. I just don't recommend it. I'm gonna blend out the lip now, just slightly blending it, blend out the edge, just like that. Now back to the highlighting shade and the other N24. Gonna clean up down the bridge of my nose, laying this flat. I'm gonna do a lift and another lift right below the contour and another lift, connecting these two, and another lift on the chin, and then another lift. Now that we've done this whole step, we're gonna dip in. We're gonna place a line the best we can going down the bridge of the nose. Okay, so that's gonna chill out for a minute. In that time, we're gonna do a little bit of highlighting in between the brows like we did earlier, and that's the highlighting. Back to the N20S, we're gonna start to blend this out. And now this is where you need to be a little bit more, you need to put a little bit more effort into the blend because it's sitting on top of your foundation. This is one of the last steps other than powder. So if it's not blended now, we don't have that fallback of putting a skin tint or foundation on top because we're not actually underpainting on this side, right? So you have to make sure your blend is the way you'd want it to be. So perfect it, get it perfect, blend it out because there's no saving us after this, okay? Gonna blend out the nose. And you'll see, you know, if you do underpainting right, it's not gonna be this dramatic thing. It can be if you wanted to, but for day-to-day life, you could definitely utilize a technique like this to achieve a more sculpted look. So whether it's underneath your skin tint or your foundation, like on this side, which you can see is so soft, so great for the natural makeup lover, so great for the person that just doesn't want to look like they have a lot of visible makeup on. If that's you, then you're going to want to do this technique for sure. And then there's this side. The side is all sitting on top of the foundation, and there's nothing wrong with that. I do this side all the time. I think they both look very similar. There's definitely like a slight difference going on for sure. This looks more natural, more skin-like. This has a little bit more of like a makeup appearance to it. So at the end of the day, pick your poison. Decide what is going to be best suited for your lifestyle, your makeup style, and what kind of style you're going for, and then do accordingly. But I think anyone can use this palette. It's not that intimidating, I promise you that, and it works well with so many different formulations. So I hope this helps clear up any questions you might have had if you pick this palette up and you just weren't sure where to use it and how to use it and which order you use it. Either one of these is going to get you a beautiful look, and there's no right or wrong way to use it. All right, if you have picked up this newest mascara from L'Oreal, I want to give you my best tips on how to use it so you don't over clump it and so you don't make it a big, clumpy, spidery mess. All right, first things first, if you're going to curl your lashes, make sure you don't curl them after you apply that formula. It is a recipe for breaking your lashes off. So grab your lash curler and go to town prior to the mascara. So I'm gonna take my BK Beauty lash curler, get all these bad boys in there. I'm gonna squeeze 3 times and I'm gonna hold for 10. Lashes are curled. Do one eye at a time. So let me just jump right into this mascara. So when I first got this mascara, I made the mistake of just over applying it and clumping it on way too much, and I thought it was the worst formula on the planet. Now, less is more with this formula. So you're going to take the formula and you're going to make sure you wipe off any excess onto this portion. This is called the stopper. So wipe off any excess off on the stopper. It's going to make it kind of messy, but your lashes will thank you later. Make sure there's no visible clumps on the wand prior to going in. Your wand should look cleaned up and more like this. Take the curve. Don't go like this. take the curve and you're gonna look straight into your mirror. You're gonna get this into the root, depositing a little bit at the root. Okay, once you've done that, then you pull up. Root, wiggle, pull up. The idea of doing this is it's depositing most of the product at the root of your lashes, giving your lashes more of a thickness at the base, but then once you get to the tip of your lashes where you want your lashes to, for the most part, being more soft, more fluttery, and not so like spidery and thick when you get to the tip of your lashes. It's just a more flattering way, just to be fully honest with you, of wearing your mascara. So by depositing most of it at the root right away, you're kind of essentially clean off the formula at the root, and then you're getting just the right amount distributed throughout and at the tip of your lashes. Now you need to work quickly, but also slowly with this formula, if that makes sense. So don't take too much time in between each coat because this dries down fast. And once it's dried down, the next coat is just gonna end up looking super clumpy and really ridiculous, to be honest. So once I get 2 coats on, I then take the tip of the wand and I'll fine tune the rest, separating them, getting some individual coating where I need it or where I missed it. This tip is great when you're getting in the inner portion of your lashes. These inner guys right here, they're hard to get without making a mess. Use the tip of the wand to separate them and coat them, just like that. All right, now if you get to this point and you feel like you could still use a little bit more product and you haven't clumped them yet, take one more round, a very small amount, and just blink on to the wand. So you're not going to the root anymore. You already did that. That did its job. Now you're just taking this and you're blinking softly onto the wand. And this is what's going to build up that extension look and really give you that proper like tubing effect and really wrap around the rest of your lashes. So this is the effect you should get with 2.5 coats and with curling your lashes prior to application. And again, remember, stop it here. It might be tempting. It might be really, really tempting. You might want to pile on more, but this is going to be the best way to apply this mascara so you don't get super clumpy, super duper weighed down lashes. All right, my friends, last but not least, if you were tempted to buy the Hourglass ambient lighting palettes, these are all limited edition. They come out every single year. I collect them. I do think they're beautiful. I think they make incredible gifts. If you have a makeup lover in your life, this is the gift to get. They're just beautiful palettes. They're great quality. And they're very useful, especially for you or someone you know that travels a lot for work or just in general. Palettes like this come in clutch. But if you bought one for yourself and you're questioning how the heck you use it, I got you. And actually, I talk to my sister about this every single year. I buy her one every single year. And although she loves them, she always comes back to me with the same question. I love that palette. It's so beautiful. I wear it every day, but I don't really know how to use it. She makes it work. But if you've ever found yourself saying that after you've made the investment, these are quite expensive. They are not cheap products. Hourglass is a very expensive brand as a whole, and these are no exception. So if you picked up one of these palettes, either based off my recommendation or other people's recommendations, or just pure temptation because they're so pretty and they got this beautiful design every single year on the cover, I got you. Probably obvious, but this is the bronzer shade. And by the way, I have the Deer palette, which is, I believe, a palette that is aimed towards like light, medium complexions. There's different variations in depth on their website and also available at Sephora that you can check out. So they're not all going to look like this. This is just the one that I picked up for my light, medium complexion. So this is the bronzer. Okay. This is a finishing powder, not a setting powder. Not to be confused with that. This is not going to lock your makeup in for like a thunderstorm, but it's going to finish your makeup, refine pores, smooth the look of any areas that you want to smooth, refine texture, blur out any areas, and really overall give you that finishing look to your makeup. It's hard to explain. It's like a feeling. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought to yourself, my makeup is on, I've done all the steps needed to complete my makeup look, but there's just something missing. Either it's like your blush is too blotchy here, or like your bronzer showing up too much here, or there's too much separation between your forehead bronzer and your highlighter. I could go on and on with the reasons why you would use a finishing powder, but those are the reasons why you would grab a finishing powder. So hopefully that clears up a lot of confusion on what it's for and do you need it? The answer is you probably do need it. If you've ever thought to yourself something's off with your makeup, a finishing powder will usually be your biggest band-aid to fix those issues. So these 2 shades in the palette are 2 finishing powders. There's going to be 2 different tones. One's going to be more light, more radiant, and this is going to be used to like further enhance, let's say, a highlighted area, any areas of your skin that you highlighted with concealer, not like actual highlighter, but like highlighted with concealer or any kind of cream or liquid product, right? And this is a finishing powder that's gonna be a little bit deeper in tone. So this is the finishing powder Dream Light. This is the finishing powder in Aura Light. So just 2 slightly different tones, slightly different undertones, if you will, and 2 different purposes. So choose wisely, place wherever you need them. But what I would suggest doing is using this as a finishing powder in the areas that you want to refine and smooth and blur where you also want to maintain the highlighted effect. If you want to use the deeper one for the outskirts of your face, where you have like your foundation, your bronzer, and things like that, and you don't want to necessarily brighten it, but you want to finish and refine those areas, stay with me, I know, then you would use the slightly deeper one. I promise you it's not as difficult as it seems. And honestly, at the end of the day, you're just fine blending into both these colors and buffing it all over and calling it good. And I promise you, it's not gonna make much of a difference. These are very sheer, they're very forgiving. And if you switch one out for the other, it's not gonna make the biggest impact. But if you wanted to know my thoughts on how to use them the best way, that would be it. Now this bad boy is your actual highlighter. So let me swatch all three of these just to give you an idea. So these are the two finishing powders, okay? So the two, I'm gonna look like I'm giving you a weird signal, but the two fingers here are your finishing powder. Those are to finish, blur, soften, give you a candlelit kind of filtered look to your makeup and your complexion. These two bad boys, you can see there's not a huge difference in tone. One is a little bit lighter, but they're not hugely different. They're not vastly different from each other. This one, on the other hand, is going to be your shimmery, more metallic, more radiant, actual highlighter. And then of course, self-explanatory, you get two different blushes, two different tones. This one's a peach, this one's a pink. Let me show you how to use all these on your face. All right, for the finishing powder, we're gonna grab the N19 brush. We're gonna dip right into this lightest one. I'm gonna show you how to use all of them. Now we're gonna take this and place this in the areas I want to not only brighten a little bit, but also refine, smooth, and blur. So this is going on top of my actual setting powder, which was the Makeup by Mario. Use this also just in the very center between my brows to further brighten and finish and blur and soften and just really refine my pores and just give my skin this like candlelit kind of like filtered effect. So same thing, just dipping into the lightest finishing powder shade, bringing it up. Now this is a really great powder to use under your eyes if you want to further enhance like that brightening effect, like I mentioned, because this is a little bit more brightening and it'll give you more of like that lit from within, light reflective quality, but not in a glittery way because it's a finishing powder and not a highlighter. I'm gonna switch to the N14 brush to use this next shade, which is that slightly deeper one. And I'm just gonna use this to soften out where my smile lines are and above my chin, buffing it in this area just to smooth out any texture. And again, finish it, quite literally. So this is also great for just smoothing and blurring in between bronzer application, blush application. Now once we've done those two powders, I'm gonna now show you how to use the bronzer. Now the one thing that gets me with these palettes is dipping into these small pans of powder highlighter, finishing powder, blushes, totally fine. But when it comes to bronzer, you really do need a bigger pan to get your bronzer brush in there accurately and not get into the other colors that are in the palette, right? So accuracy of getting your bronzer out of this palette is not the easiest. So make sure you switch it to a slightly smaller powder brush. This is my N15 brush. You're gonna dip into the bronzer. Now this is self-explanatory. We're just gonna put this on the top of the forehead and all the high points of my face. This is a luminous bronzer. It's not a matte bronzer. There's nothing matte about this palette. Okay, just keep that in mind. But what it does give you is like the most beautiful filtered look to your skin and like the softest, most subtle glow and luminous look. Bring this on my nose. I love this bronzer on my nose. It's so pretty. These also, I just want to throw this out there, they make incredible eyeshadows. So if you're on the go and you just need something quick and easy, like let's say you're traveling, you didn't pack an eyeshadow, use any of these. The bronzer obviously is the most ideal to use as your eyeshadow, but any of these top three shades are going to be great for like soft highlighting, soft blurring, and a soft wash of color on your eyes. All right, once your bronzer is on, we're gonna dive into the blush. Now for the blush, I'm gonna grab the N20 and I'm just gonna sweep into this peachy one for this makeup look. These are such forgiving formulas. They're so blurring, they're so buildable, they're so easy to work with. They never go on patchy. They're just like a soft focused, very, very flattering powder blush formula that anyone could apply. And you don't have to have the best blending skills. You don't even have to have like the best tools. Honestly, this powder formula is so good that it is just ultra, ultra forgiving. So I'm just blending this back and forth and building it up. I love to bring this onto my nose for some extra like warmth. All right, last but not least, I've switched to a different N20 brush. We're gonna dip into the highlighter, the last color in this palette that we have not used. And we're just gonna swipe into this, and this powder highlighter is stunning. Hitting the high points. This is very impactful, very glowy. But at the same time, it's not, in my opinion, as a makeup artist, I've used these on my clients for years. These are not overly glittery where they are texture enhancing and unforgiving on any kind of like skin texture or fine lines. So they're very forgiving. They're very like universally beautiful. I'll just hit my nose, top of the forehead. And then my other way I love to use this palette is to take a small brush. So I'm just gonna pick up a little bit on the N23 brush of this highlighter. And this is one of my favorite ways to highlight my client's tear duct. So I have all of the ambient lighting palettes, all three of them depotted into one big palette, and I use the lighter shades to highlight the tear duct for a soft inner tear duct kind of glow. And it just always looks so pretty. It always hits. I mean, look at that. And while we're at it, while we're getting crazy, let's grab the N22. Let me just show you how easy it is to apply the bronzer as eyeshadow, at least on the bottom lash line. I already have eyeshadow on top from earlier. So just taking the right brush, dipping in, sweeping this back and forth, we're gonna get a really soft eyeshadow look with the bronzer. So very multitasking, very easy to work with. I promise you, you do not need to be intimidated or confused by this palette. Just get in there and have fun with it. There's no right or wrong way to use it, really. You just need to go in there and experiment, and don't waste any of the colors because they're all gonna be beautiful. And there's so many easy ways to use it, but I wanna tell you one last tip. If you've ever been intimidated by the blushes in particular in this palette, one last pro tip that I highly recommend you try out, especially while you're getting used to these formulas if you have this palette, is to do this. Take a diffusing brush. This, of course, is the N20, the full size. So take the diffusing brush, and what you're going to do is you're going to mix. You're going to take both these shades right here. This is the finishing powder and the blush. The reason for that is you're going to get the softest mix of these two shades where you're not going to end up with a overly pigmented blush, and you're not going to end up with a blush that you can't blend out. So if you're at all intimidated by this palette, I highly recommend you try this technique where you mix these two. So the end result is just really diffused, really soft, and it shears out the blush. It'll still apply it, but it shears it out. So it's really a soft wash and a soft application. Isn't that pretty? But honestly, no matter how you use this palette, you're gonna end up loving it. But I really hope these techniques help you out. And I really hope it clears up any of the confusion on what each color is for and why are there so many light colors in the palette. What are they used for? Now you know, now you're set up for success, and now you're not gonna waste your money if you picked up the Hourglass palettes. All right, that wraps up this video. I hope you found it helpful, and I hope this sets you up for success and leaves you feeling like a pro when you're applying these new products and these new releases. Comment below, let me know which techniques helped you out the most. Let me know what products you're still continuing to struggle with, and I would love to tackle that in a part 2. So if you want to see a part 2, if there's any other products in particular that you just can't make work for you and you don't want to waste the money, I got you. Leave them in the comments below. I will write them down. I will definitely get that film for you as soon as possible. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye, you guys.